Hey everybody, this is Professor Will, the IT Wizard. So I just want to talk about a question that I get from a lot of my newer students or people who just find out I work in the IT field for a living, and that's how do I get in? How do I get into the IT field? When I get that question, the first thing I normally ask them is, okay, what do you want to do when you get into IT? What do you see yourself doing as an IT professional? To which the response I typically get is like a puzzled face, like what? What do you mean what I want to do? And there's a lot of times people assume that IT is this one thing. IT is somebody sitting behind a desk typing code on a computer, or maybe to them, IT is like a shot out of Mr. Robot, guy in a hoodie hacking into systems, or to some people, IT might be the guy in a Dickies shirt driving around the office buildings fixing their printers. So there's these different visions of what an IT professional does. But an IT professional could be any of those things and so much more. There's a lot of different pathways that you can go up or go down as an IT professional. So one thing that I like to suggest to new students just starting out or people trying to find their way in IT is to take a good look at what the IT field has to offer. And to do that, one cool way it can be approached is to take advantage of CompTIA's new IT certification or newly updated IT certification, the IT Fundamentals Plus. So to give you a better idea of what the IT Fundamentals course entails and what the certification exam covers, let's go down to my layer. And I'll bring it up on the screen for you so we can take a look together. Do wizards have layers? Is that dragon? Or whatever. Wizards got layers today. Let's go.
So we safely made it to the lair. So let's take a look at this CompTIA IT Fundamentals certification exam. Now, the goal of the IT Fundamentals certification is to provide new students or maybe career changers with an overview of the IT industry and some of the different pathways that you could take to become an IT pro. So this particular certification, unlike most of CompTIA's certifications, is geared towards somebody who has absolutely no field experience. It's actually the only academic certification that CompTIA provides. All the other certifications are geared towards IT professionals in order to help them move ahead in the field. But this one here, this is specifically for you if you're brand new, you're a student, high school, college, maybe somebody who's never, really done any work in the IT field, but you have this strong urge to break in. This is an ideal place for you to start because it's going to cover all of the basics, the fundamentals of being an IT professional. In addition to that, though, it provides what I like to call smorgasbord. It's going to be a huge sampling of different types of IT. Because remember, one of the things that kind of hinder people into getting into the IT field is they don't actually know exactly what there is to do in IT. The IT Fundamental Certification solves that problem by having domains of the test and training that specifically focus on different key high-value IT roles that you could go on to pursue. So let's take a look at the breakdown of this IT Fundamentals training and certification. The way that CompTIA has set it up in their latest edition of the IT Fundamentals test is to present you with a certification exam that is 75 questions over 60 minutes. Sounds like a lot, but if you train up good enough, you'll be able to hammer out those questions in no time. To pass this cert, you need a 650 on a 100 to 900 point scale. Scales in CompTIA tests can get a little bit fishy not fishy, but a little bit shaky because it's not a 1-for-1, right? So you have some questions that are going to be more difficult than others for you to approach, so they're worth more points. So that's why they give you this 100 to 900 point scale. You need about a 650. But if I was to equate it to a letter grade, it's like getting a D on the test. So you only need a D to pass. That should make you feel pretty good. But the really important part that I want you to take note of is what CompTIA refers to as their test domain. In every IT certification that CompTIA produces, they provide you with test domains. These test domains are like topics. So the different topics that are going to be covered throughout the course of the exam. They also give you a weight of each one of those topics. For example, here in the IT concepts and terminology, that portion of the certification exam makes up 17% of the question. So that means that a pretty decent sized chunk of your test is just going to be on terminology, learning the lingo of an IT professional. But after that kind of basic terminology portion, the majority of the other portions of this test focus in on specific learning pathways or specific career tracks in IT. So we have a whole domain dedicated to infrastructure. That's learning about the different types of hardware that are involved in being an IT professional. You're going to be learning about computer components. You're going to be learning about different networking devices. But again, this is high level. They don't expect you to know any of this stuff up front. They're going to give you everything you need to know in the training to go from 0 to 100% so that you can pass the certification test. And the third domain, the focus here is on applications and software. So now we've moved out of the hardware realm into dealing more with the types of programs that you'll run on these computer systems that you're working with. From there, domain 4 is going to tackle software development. Here, if you're interested in being the type of person who actually writes these software programs, if you want to be a coder, you get a glimpse into what that's going to look like as you tackle the software development section of the test. In domain 5, we touch on database fundamentals. In IT or in the business world in general, data is king. So you'll see a lot of IT roles out there, especially some of your higher paying IT roles, are geared toward managing and manipulating and securing data. So you'll get your introduction to data and databases, the mechanisms that store that data, in domain 5 of the IT fundamentals. And finally, I know everybody's heard about this one. It's a huge buzzword in IT right now: security, security, security. IT security or cyber security, however you want to put it, is the sixth and final domain of the IT fundamentals training and certification. This is where you get your first exposure to what it means to be a cybersecurity professional. You learn some of those security fundamentals that relate to systems and networks. And this is actually one of the bigger portions of the test. So it's a good way to kind of dip your toe into the cybersecurity world to see if that might be a good fit for you moving forward. So now that we know a little bit more about the IT fundamentals training and certification, you got to ask yourself, okay, how does it stack up against some of the other certifications that are out there on the market? Because if you've done any research on IT, you know that there's a certification for pretty much anything that you can do. You can get certified in typing if you want to. There's a certification for anything technical that you can do. So how does CompTIA certification really stack up against some of the competition? Well, some of its main competition come in the form of Microsoft certification. Microsoft has a line of certifications called the MTA, Microsoft Technology Associate. This is their line of certification geared towards students. So similar to the ITF, they have their or CompTIA, they have their professional level certifications, and then they have their student-based certifications. The MTA make up their student certification. IT3, the organization IT3, has a digital literacy certification that they offer. And then over in Europe, across the pond, they have the European Computer Driver's License certification. So when I compare the IT fundamentals to some of these other certifications, one thing that stands out immediately is the fact that if I want to actually certify, I have less legwork. CompTIA's IT fundamentals covers a broad area of knowledge, but you only have to take one test, versus the Microsoft Technology Associate has 8 separate exams that you have to tackle in order to get a grasp of those different technological concepts. IC3 has 3 exams, and the European Computer Driver's License certification has 17 exam modules. The focus of the IT fundamentals is slightly different as well. Here, we're focusing on pre-career assessment. You don't know what you want to do in IT yet. You're just trying to feel your way around. That is the focus of the IT fundamentals. That's the problem it's trying to tackle. The Microsoft certifications are content specific. They assume you already know what you want to study. And that's why they have 8 separate exams. That way, if you know you want to do networking already, you just do Microsoft Networking MTA, and then you move on towards more professional level certifications, associate and professional level certifications in the Microsoft realm. But our problem is we don't know what we want to do yet. So having the IT fundamentals give you this sampler is a huge benefit. The IC3 doesn't really have a lot of end user IT training, so it lacks in that department. Same problem with the European Computer Driver's License. For experience level, the IT fundamental is geared towards pre-IT career and non-IT pros. So you don't necessarily even have to be a student of IT in order to dive headfirst into the IT fundamentals. You have no IT background whatsoever, and you'll still be able to pick up and get going with this curriculum. Versus the Microsoft certifications, they're an on-ramp. They assume you're in some type of technology training program, and you're just trying to upskill to get to the next level. IC3 and the European driver's license, computer driver's license, do offer a certification that's geared toward non-IT pros, but in my opinion, not as effectively as the IT fundamentals. And then lastly is vendor neutrality. What you'll see and what you'll learn as you get used to approaching certifications and training in the IT realm is you'll learn that there's some certifications that are vendor specific and there's others that are vendor neutral. A vendor in this case is a company. So look at your Microsoft. I'm pointing at you, Microsoft. See how it says no there? Microsoft is an organization. They're a company. Their certifications are vendor specific. They want you to know the way Microsoft does things. They want you to understand Microsoft technology. They don't care about Cisco technologies. They don't care about Google technologies. As long as you know Microsoft, you're good to go. Whereas the other 3 organizations listed here, they're all vendor neutral. They're nonprofit organizations. They're coalitions of technology organizations, and they take more of a broad approach to teaching you different technologies. CompTIA is famous for that. They're vendor neutral. So they're going to give you the whole big picture of how the different technologies that they're teaching you can be applied.